Hi, my name's Audrie Walsh. I'm assistant winemaker at Sattui Winery, and today I'm going to be making a dish that I make at home. It's a dancing bonito over forbidden rice with ginger garlic skirt steak. So it's really delicious. My whole family loves it, and it's a really fun dish because at the end it moves. All right, so we're going to start by first chopping our onion. I am very sensitive to onions, so hopefully I don't cry while I'm doing this. I always do. I'm gonna dice this, and this is a method I learned somewhere on the internet, and this is the fastest way for me to get the exact pieces that I want, but I just want a pretty even dice. I've always just really loved cooking, and it's just a nice time to kind of relax. So now I'm gonna do the carrots. I'm gonna do 3 carrots because these carrots are pretty small. Sometimes I just do 2. I'm gonna be dicing these because when they're in the rice, I want them to be kind of hidden, but you notice them when you bite into them, like, ooh, what is that? Because once they cook with the rice, they're gonna turn black and you're not gonna see them. The big thing in my household, because I have 2 kids, is that I am just trying to do things as quick as possible. So this is a high heat oil because I want to fry the carrots and the onions for a little bit. Just gonna pour a little bit in, just enough that I can fry my vegetables. So I'm gonna put in all of the onion that we chopped, and I'm putting in all the carrot that we chopped. Mix it around to get the oil on there. So while that's going, I'm gonna start measuring out all of the wet ingredients that are gonna go in here. Somewhere between 3.5 and 4 cups of vegetable broth. We have 2 wines that we are potentially using with this dish. So it really depends what mood you're in for the evening. Either of these is gonna work really well. They're both very floral varieties, and they're gonna be imparting a very similar style to the dish, and they're gonna pair really well with the dish in the end. I'm going to go with the non-alcoholic today, just because it's kind of fun to be able to incorporate that. So I'm gonna put in 1/2 cup of wine. You know what, I'm gonna make it 3/4 of a cup. I just feel like it needs it. So 2 tablespoons mirin, sweetened sake that we use for cooking. 2 tablespoons soy sauce. So next up, I'm going to rinse out the rice. So I'm using this black rice. You want to rinse it with cold water until it runs clear. So now I'm gonna add my rice, our black rice, into the pot. So I'm gonna bring this back up to a boil and then leave it to simmer. And while that's coming to a boil, we're gonna put a little bit of sugar into it. I just eyeball it. What feels right, that feels right. So you can see how dark already the rice and like the liquid is from the rice. And we're gonna let that just stay on a low heat. I'm gonna pour myself a glass because it's opens, and that would be a waste not to be drinking some of this while I'm cooking. I actually find this one to be really refreshing too, especially when I'm cooking because I get really hot. That is so good. Okay, so next up we are going to prep everything we need for the steak. So this is going to be a ginger garlic steak marinade. So first up, we're going to peel the ginger. And there's a couple of different ways you can do that. You can either use this vegetable peel or you can use a spoon. I do a mixture of the 2. Now I'm going to grate the ginger. I always feel like fresh just has a better flavor. And I'm gonna put it straight into the bowl that I'm gonna be using for the marinade. So I'm chopping the garlic now. I'm gonna do 3 cloves. We'll see how that goes. That should be enough. Just get a really good dice. So now I'm gonna put this into the marinade bowl. So now for the marinade, we're gonna put in some honey, and I just kind of put some in. That's exactly how much I put, some. And then I'm gonna put a little bit of soy sauce. Again, I'm just gonna put in some. what feels right. That feels pretty right to me. Rice, wine, vinegar, 1 or 2 teaspoons, depending how much steak you're making. Maybe a little more. There, perfect. A little bit of pepper, and then we'll give it a little mix. So I'm gonna hold this aside for a minute while I prep everything we need for the egg dish. So we're gonna preheat the oven for 300 degrees. All right, for the eggs, I'm gonna do 5 eggs. Whisk it until it looks smooth. We're gonna put in some heavy cream to make these really creamy. With a little pinch of salt. Stir, 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 whisk, whisk, whisk. So I'm gonna add the butter to the pan. And we want the butter to melt, but we don't want it to burn. Sometimes you see this type of egg on sushi. So that's the style we're aiming for. And I'm just gonna start moving it around. Sure the heat's still low. But once the egg is not really moving so much, that's about the time that you wanna start thinking about putting it in the oven. All right, so now we're gonna get back to our marinade to marinate the steak. So I'm gonna add my 2 pounds of skirt steak to the marinade, and I'm gonna mix it around in there. So we're gonna let that sit, and then we will sear that in the pan. All right, so now I'm gonna take the eggs out. Perfect timing. So I'm gonna start cooking the steak. Since I am gonna be searing this meat, I wanna use a high heat oil. So I'm using grapeseed oil. So I'm gonna do about 5 minutes on each side. And that should get us about medium. That's looking good. So now I'm gonna flip it. All right, I'm gonna deem those done. I'm gonna put those on the plate. And I'll let these rest for about 10 minutes to 15 minutes so all the juices don't come out. Once the rice is done, you're gonna put bonito flakes in the rice. So I just sprinkle some in. And you can see they're starting to move in the pot. And you're just gonna stir that in. And that gives a nice smoky flavor to the rice. So now we're gonna put the steak onto our cutting board so that we can slice it. So when I slice the steak, I slice it against the grain. That way when you're eating it, it falls apart nicely in your mouth. So I do pretty thin strips. And that's perfect. Came out nice and medium. We're gonna get our bowls and then we'll start plating up the rice. So I'm using these bowls that I made myself. I think that it always makes the food taste a little better when it's something that I made myself. It really makes me happy to use them. And so I'm gonna put the rice in here. So now you can see all of those carrots and the onions and the rice, everything is just the same color. It's very dark. Helps give it, work with the name Forbidden Rice. So now I'm gonna cut slices of my egg right on top of there in the middle so you can have bites of it while you're eating. So I'm gonna put a few slices of steak. And now to top it off, the most fun part are the bonito flakes. I'm gonna sprinkle the bonito flakes onto the dish and you'll see that they're starting to move. I love seeing the reactions on everybody's faces, especially my kids. I'm gonna dig in now. I like to get a little bit of everything. All right. This is delicious. This is perfect. The wine is a little refreshing, a little floral, and that smokiness from the bonito flakes pairs beautifully. And the sweetness of it kind of really cuts in with some of those savory flavors. This is a perfect dish. Thanks so much for joining me while I cook this dish, and I really hope you check out our non-alcoholic Gewurztraminer and our muscat. And until next time, cheers.